What's good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's going on with the economic calendar thus far, as we just had CPI that just came out. And this was a little bit harder than expected. So I'm going to break down how this is affecting the markets. I'm going to talk about some big earnings that just came out and what the charts are suggesting for Tesla and all these different tickers. But before I break into all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and the offer ends very soon. Anyways, now let's break down what's happening with Tesla in the markets. Tesla is currently down over 3%, barely holding 182. SPY is down 1.4%. The Russell 2000 is down 3.6%. Apple's down 1%. QQQ is down almost 2%. The market is sinking like a rock, taking a big hit after CPI came out, and the numbers are not the best. Let me break them down in just a minute. So, the 10-year Treasury yield has shot higher as CPI is hotter than expected. What are the numbers looking like? Let's start off with CPI right here. Year over year, we had 3.1% for CPI. That is on the hotter end of the forecast. It's still above that 3% threshold. And month over month, CPI was at 0.3%. That is above expectations. That's above the consensus and forecast of 0.2%. So month over month, CPI for all items was a little bit hot. But then here's where things become more serious. Core CPI was at 3.9%. We wanted this to be at 3.7%. According to the forecast and the consensus, this was hot, and this is a big deal. We got an increase in core CPI again. That is not what the Fed wants. And core CPI month over month was at 0.4%. That is above the consensus and the forecast of 0.3%. CPI is a little bit hot, guys, so you want to be very careful. Here's what the chart looks like. Basically, the blue line is showing all items CPI. This actually went down a little bit. It's not that bad. But then for all items without food and energy, the purple line, this is basically core CPI. And we got a little increase. It went up again. So CPI is still going up on some metrics. If you look at core, that is not the best of news. And as a result of this, this is what is going on with the Fed projections. There's a 96% chance the Fed is going to keep rates the same, and only a 3% chance they're going to cut. So the market is now expecting the Fed to keep rates the same. This is a big adjustment. This is negative for companies like Tesla, which are very sensitive to interest rates. And that's not the best of pieces of news. The Fed is going to likely have to keep interest rates higher for longer, and that increases the odds of things starting to break in the economy. That is not good news. It is what it is, guys. And the market is not liking this. This is why the market is selling off. You could see the market was at new highs for the Dow Jones, the Nasdaq, and S&P 500. Now they're dropping quite a bit after CPI. Some news about the markets: JetBlue is up 15% because a big activist investor has taken a 10% stake, which is good news. We just had Coca-Cola's earnings and also a couple of others. I'll talk about that in a minute. Bitcoin was climbing, but things are changing now with CPI coming out, so I'll be watching that very carefully. I'm seeing a lot of news about this, about how the Super Bowl was the most watched television show, at least in the US, with 123.4 million people watching the game. That's actually some very, very big stuff. That's good for many of the players, the sponsors, and such. So just wanted to call that out. Now, when it comes to earnings, let me just quickly go over this before I break down the charts. We had Shopify and Coca-Cola. Don't forget, later on today, we have Airbnb, Upstart, Robinhood, and Lyft. And then later on, we have like DraftKings, Coinbase, and Roku for Thursday. But what about for today, what came out with Shopify? Shopify dropped because EPS was about 34 cents, not bad. Sales were up 24% in terms of revenue, not bad. But what wasn't too good is the Q4 operating margin missed the consensus by 10 basis points. And then on top of this, their outlook was not the strongest. Not the strongest outlook. Revenue was supposed to grow in the low 20 percentage points over the next year. On top of this, they broke down more in things about their margins, which weren't really the best. So the share price ended up dropping on their outlook, which is not the best of news. And then for Coca-Cola, they did pretty well. They beat on EPS, beat on revenue, and their net sales were pretty good. Their guidance is still, overall, I would say it's so-so. You can see the organic revenue growth of 6 to 7% for 2024 is expected. So not the best earnings, not bad earnings. It was so for Coke. They're still holding up nicely. Anyways, let's talk about CPI. Let's talk about the charts. Tesla is not looking good, guys. Got this big sell-off on Tesla. Tesla is selling off because of the fact that the Fed is incentivized to be hawkish, and we're going to be watching 182.5. If we lose this, there's 180 coming, 178 followed by 175. Those are going to be your key supports. Resistance, make sure you watch 184, 187.5 to 188, and then 190 above that. But honestly, guys, Tesla's looking a little bit weak right here. So we're going to be watching to see if we could hold 182, and then if we lose it, 180 is going to be our critical support. And then also, we'll be watching to see if we could close above 180. If we close above 180, there's a chance Tesla could bounce. If we fail to do so, it's going to be dropping more. So I think there's a risk of Tesla coming down lower. So make sure you watch support around 180. Let's see how well Tesla could hold up at 182. So please be careful, guys. There's a risk of more downside. Please be very careful. I want to give you guys a warning. The market's not in the best of states. For SPY, we're looking quite bearish. We've got this nice little sell-off. But here's the thing. Although it's selling off, we're still holding critical support. I'm going to actually change the color of this. Let's make this orange. I think orange is not the best of colors. I'll make this green, and I'm going to make this thick. So basically, what I'm trying to get at is we have a key support at 494 on SPY. That's where our gap happens to be. And we have this chop zone very close to 492. So that's going to be where our key support is. If we lose 494, watch 492 to 491.5. If we lose that, there's 490 coming. And then if we try to bounce, critical resistance is going to be closer to 496 than 498. So with 494, that's going to be a very key support. SPY has to try to hold this, and there's still a chance it could bounce off of this and try to push back later on. But if we lose 494, we're going to turn a lot more bearish. And I think that SPY is looking weak. It might come and retest this, trade sideways for a bit, right? Try to rebound, come back down. And I think that it's still looking weak, but we're going to be watching where we close. If we close below 494, SPY is going to turn a lot weaker and we could sink more. If we close above it, SPY could still bounce. I just wanted to call that out. I think we could retest and we're going to shuffle into 494s. So be very careful here. It still looks weak, but look and see if buyers defend it. And then just look for the close. The close is going to be the most important thing. The QQQ, we're looking bearish. Watching 427. If we lose this, there's going to be 425 and 423.8 as support. For resistance, if we do try to rebound, watch 429 to 430. And above that, we have 432, followed by 434. So with that being said, I mean, if we do try to rebound, we could get a backtest to 429 and come back down and trade in this range, 427 to 429. But watch the close right here. We also have nice support at 427. If we lose this, we could turn a lot more bearish on the QQQ. So watch support carefully. I think it might retest this, rebound a little bit, and continue to trade sideways here. But there's going to be a risk of more downside if we lose 427. So be very careful. For Nvda, it's the same thing as the QQQ. We've sold off quite a bit, but we're trying to hold very close to 707. It doesn't have to be, exact, but it has to be close. So we're trying to hold in this range. If we lose 707, our next critical area is going to be very close to this 700 range. If we lose 700, 694 is coming. And then for resistance, you're going to be watching this thing essentially try to push back up to we have this wick right here at 709. We also have 712, 715, and 720. So I think some buyers are going to try to defend Nvidia. We might see this thing try to rebound a little bit to 712 to make our way back down and kind of shuffle in this range. There is a risk of it kind of downtrending though. You guys could see we're making like a lower high, lower low. So be very careful with Nvidia. It could kind of rebound and come back down. Still looking kind of weak, not the strongest. So please be very careful with it. Could push up a little bit off this and come back down. We're going to be watching to see where it closes, of course. Watch 700. If we could hold above 700, there's a chance it could hold up. But if we lose that 700 psychological support, there's going to be a risk of a bigger drop. So be very careful with Nvidia. Look for a little rebound to 712 before it comes back down. For Aapl, we called out the head and shoulders on Aapl. The left shoulder, the head, the right shoulder. I told you if you lost support, watch for a drop. And there's your drop. The technicals called it. So Aapl, has resistance at 185.5, 186.5, and then 188. We have support at 185, 184.25, and then 183.25. I think right now Apple's seen some buyers trying to defend 185, but it's not really bouncing that hard. It might just kind of shuffle in this range right here, remain range bound. But watch and see how we hold 185. If we lose 185, especially if we close below it, we're going to turn more bearish. If we hold it, we could try to rebound a bit, but we're still looking kind of bearish. I think we might shuffle in the 185s for some time. We'll have to see if we lose 185 later on. So be very careful. It still is on a downtrend, still looking bearish overall. So be careful, and we'll see how well we hold 185. So be careful here. With that being said, thank you all so much for listening. The market is looking weaker. Tesla also got a big sell-off because of the fact that it's very interest rate sensitive. I want everyone to be very careful with stocks like Tesla right now because they're not in the best of state. And let's hope Tesla tries to hold 182 and 180, guys. It's going to be key for the stock. So take care, guys. Do what's best for your own portfolios. Please be prepared for some more possible downside in the future. Keep this in the back of your mind. I'm not saying the market will crash. I'm just saying that there's a risk of it, especially if you lose some key levels, such as 494 on SPY, 427 on the QQQ, and if Tesla loses 180, it's going to be a bad sign. So I'm just saying, be careful, watch your levels, be patient, and we'll see how it goes. Thank you for listening. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you, and peace out.